Scott Hoppy, and I want to talk to you today about automation in your accounting practice. And more specifically, let's look at the sales, new client sales, and what we can do to automate our practice there. First, a little bit about me. I have my doctorate in accounting, my master's in taxation, and I started my career off at PwC before moving in-house to an architecture firm and ultimately opening up my own practice. Since then, I've been awarded 40 under 40 by CPA Practice Advisor, and I've been on the cover of Cal CPA. And that was having to do with creating a virtual practice that is completely paperless, all digital, and we work with our clients via video and email and phone. So let's take a look at the team today, and the team is from the West Coast to the East Coast. We have bookkeeping and tax advisors. I'm in San Francisco, and Donette's in Seattle. The rest of the team is spread out. So Liz is in Chicago and Georgia and Massachusetts. And as we look at automation, having that virtual practice, since everything's digital, makes it really advantageous for us to be able to start connecting dots between our tools, so that way we do automate things and take out some of those unnecessary steps, unnecessary manual steps. And a reason why I care about automation, well, first off, the more I can automate, the more time I get to spend with my family and the less time I have to spend working. I'd rather be playing with my son than having to be at the office in front of the computer. But it's also ripe for opportunity. And like in McKinsey, they did a study that showed 49% of our tasks can be automated. That's not accounting specific, but it gives you an idea of how much can be done that's not being done right now. And now what we want to do is start looking at what can we do with that in accounting in our practices. I really love this quote by the 4-Hour Workweek guy, Tim Ferriss, because it captures a framework that I was applying to automation myself, and he brought it together in a way that only he can see the world. So what he says is never automate something that can be eliminated, and never delegate something that can be automated. Otherwise, you waste someone else's time instead of your own, which now wastes your hard-earned cash. So catch that one more time. So never automate something that can be eliminated, and never delegate something that can be automated. And when we start looking at that, I had this framework that I call ODAD. And ODAD represents 4 steps, or really 4 items that I'm looking at when we're trying to automate bits and pieces of the practice. And the first one of ODAD is O. OD80. O is optimize. D is delete. A is automate. D, delegate. OD80, ODAD. And that order it's chronological. That's the exact order we want to go in. So first, when we're looking at our tasks and the steps and the flows that are in them, we want to optimize it first. And then after we optimize it and we've made it as efficient as we can, we want to see, is there anything we can delete? That is by far the most important step, because it reduces the number of steps and primarily the unnecessary steps in a process. And then at that point, once we've deleted things off and we have our optimized flow, we want to start piecing off the portions that can be automated. And finally, after we do that automation, we get to delegation. And by ending in delegation, what we're doing is just what Tim Ferriss says: we're not wasting that person's time. They're getting the most efficient version of a process. And the nice part too is, since it's being delegated, we don't have to do it. So we're not wasting their time, and we're not wasting our money paying them for their time, and we're not wasting our time making up for it with manual steps. So next, let's jump over and start looking at what we're going to talk about today in the accounting practice, something that we're all facing, and that is how can we automate the process around new sale calls. And why we're focusing on that is, and not thinking about how do we automate bookkeeping. Well, what we can do is there's lots of low-hanging fruit, and the more we can focus on the easy stuff, knock that off, it means we have all the brain power that we want to focus on the hard stuff. So I want to get rid of the easy stuff, automate it, make it as simple as possible, rinse and repeat. So that way, when we get to the hard tasks, that's where I can focus my energy. That's where I can focus my brain power. As we jump into the new sale call, what we're going to do is look at a typical way that a client shows up for us. And what they'll do is they'll email in, we'll email a reply back, we'll have them fill out a Google form, and then we'll trigger out, that triggers a lot of automation before we meet to have our chat, usually by video. And then we'll see what our next step of automation is after that, before we seal the deal. So we're going to go start to finish through a sales process and check out our steps here. So here's our typical email in from a prospect. Hi, Scott. My financial advisor said I should speak to you about my business tax and accounting. Are you taking new clients? So when we get this email in, what we'll do is we're going to reply back with our first bit of automation, and that's using a template email inside of Google. And here's our template email that we have that we send back. Hi, Sam. Thanks for your email, and I'd love to speak. To schedule our first chat, please answer your new client questionnaire and click the county link at the end. Looking forward to talking. So what we've done here is now we have this template that's sent over. Because it's a template and it's all the thoughts already done, and there's a link in there, what I can do is I've optimized that. I've automated as much as possible. I've delegated that step, so if I'm not around, my assistant can easily get into my email. They can send this what we call canned response or template response in reply to the new prospect. Now we're speeding up the sales cycle so the person can email in and we can be pretty quick to our response and know we're getting everything we need and moving things along for them. It's the experience I want a new client to have. All right, so what we're going to do next is look at that Google form. On the left side of the screen is the landing page for the client when they click that link. And what we're going to be asking in there is just minimal amount of questions. It's primarily just the baseline things that I noticed I want to ask every single time I'm in a sales call. So what I did was have them answer these questions before we're in the sales call. That way I'm more prepared for the call. All right, so we'll ask for their email. That's only to identify the responses, so we can tie them together. And it'll also, we use that email to name the file, so it's easier for us to be like, oh, the response on July 20th, that was to x@gmail.com. We want to know if the inquiry is for business taxes, accounting, or individual tax, and then we include another, just in case we are not capturing their need in those top three. I want to know who referred them. That way I can start watching my lead generation. And then the couple questions we can't see on here is there a time constraint? And have you had a CPA before? The most important ones to me are, what's your inquiry about? I care more about the business tax side, and I really care about the referral source, but if they don't answer it here, I'll get it later. And then the next one that really changes how this conversation is going to go and gives me a better idea of what we're going to be talking about. Have you had a CPA before? If they had a CPA before, we go into a couple more questions. So it's a second page, and we just ask what they do well, what they do bad, why are you leaving? If they haven't had a CPA, then we go right to the end. And on the right-hand side is the end. And after they click submit, what they land on is, hey, thanks for your response. Here's the link to schedule your call. and that link takes you to Calendly. So the trigger after that submit it, there's five triggers. The first one is the inquiry is logged, and that's into Google Sheets. The second one is a calendar invite sent, and that's through Calendly, the scheduling app that they link through at the end there. A task is created in our CRM, and we use Asana, which is a project management tool, to monitor our CRM or really our new sales calls. It's our lead generation, our opportunities tracker. And then a folder structure is created for the potential new client inside of Google Drive. And that folder structure will have everything that we would normally have for a brand new client that's moving forward. And then the fifth thing is that we'll have a 1-day reminder sent before the scheduled appointment, just to ask like, hey, we're looking forward to talking, and is there anything else you want to share with us? So let's look at each one. Here's our logging of all the sales calls. The nice part is, ever since I've been doing this form, which has been almost 3 or 4 years now, I've logged every single inquiry. And with that, I have all the dates that someone's inquired. I have all their emails, so if I ever want to reach out again, I know what they wanted. Their inquiry was for individual, business. And then I start getting into those where you see those orange cells, and those are columns I added, and that is information I'm manipulating. There's several more off to the right that you can't see. What I really want to know and what I'm watching is what I adjust for the how did you hear about us answer. I have it adjusted into a few buckets that I call referral source. What I want to know, is it word of mouth? Is it Yelp? Is it Google? Is it from some type of Scott activity? Is it from another accountant? And then after that, off to the right, I'm kind of just track, did we close them? Were they high quality? Was it a good lead? And then I also track, was it a junky lead? What I've been able to do with that information is create a pivot table, and I can start watching, well, what type of quantity of leads am I getting from each source? And what's the quality of the lead from each source? And that helps me know where should I spend my time and my money to generate leads, and how can I be more purposeful about that to get better quality clients, prospective clients. So let's look at that email. This is the confirmation after a client scheduled in Calendly. They get this kick out saying, hey, I'm really happy that you scheduled a call for your Google Calendar. This is the invite. This shows up on my Google Calendar automatically. And for the client, if they use Outlook, Apple, Google, it all works. So it's very slick in that way. And here's Asana. We have a project for sales. This is where we track opportunities. And we have sections for the sales calls. And really what we have is, at the very top line is someone that hasn't scheduled a call yet, but they have inquired. That's where, as soon as someone fills out the form, that's where they end up. Once they schedule a call, I move them down into that they're a new client, but no calls completed. And then once we've completed a sales call, I'll move them down to the follow-up section. And that's to either say like we had to follow up on maybe a couple items, or I'm waiting for them to complete some action items, like they're giving me their tax return so I can review it and get a quote together. After all that's done, we have another item to kind of say the client's closed, we sealed the deal. And we'll have some steps that go along with that. And here's our Google Drive. Similar to Asana, it was called, the Google Drive folder is called WB Sales. And in Asana, we call the section WB Sales. In Slack, we have a channel called WB Sales. So that way there's continuity between all these different areas. And what we see here is a few folders. This is the folder structure that automatically gets created every time someone completes that form. And what the naming convention is new client _ their email. And having it set up that way means we can see all the new clients listed off because they're going to be grouped alphabetically, and then we'll have their email so we can tie the folder structure that has the email to the Google form responses that will also have their email. And it makes it easier to bring all the information together. And finally, we have that 1 day invite, and what gets sent out saying, hey, you know what, looking forward to talking. Let us know if there's any burning questions, and if you need to share any files before the meeting. Most of the time, there's no files that people want to share beforehand, but sometimes uh, people, beyond getting a reminder, hey, we're talking, they go, oh, there is something specific I want to talk about. They give me a little bit of an idea, and then I can go in a bit more prepared. When they fill out that Calendly link, we ask if they want to have the meeting by video or phone. And regardless of whether they want it by video or phone, we ask for their phone number. That's just in case they pick video, they don't show up for the video, I can still call them. That information gets put inside of the Google Calendar, which also gets emailed to each one of us. All right, so the sales meeting. We went through all that automation. Now we're showing up at the meeting. The meeting's either by video or phone. It's 30 minutes long, and my goal is to know if and how we want to move forward. What's actually interesting about this video or phone piece, the firm's been going for just over 4 years now, and so we're going on our 5th year. And in the very beginning, phone was like 90% of it, and then it slowly has been drifting more towards video. Last year, it was about 40, almost 50-50, but about 40-60 video to phone. And then all of a sudden this year, 2018, big shift over. And I've seen 80% of the new sales calls have been video. I personally love it because I can build a deeper connection, and it's easier just to talk to people and see their faces. And I'm not sure if it's just the time they're changing and people are more comfortable on video, or maybe their jobs, they do more video chatting there, so they're opting in for video with me. Or maybe the types of clients that are interested in working with me are self-selecting, and they happen to be people that want to be on video. The people that don't tend to want to be on video for me, and being in the San Francisco area, usually someone that's a partner or a C-level executive, usually something in financials at that point. They tend to be more by phone. Everyone else, especially the tech people, they're ready to go video. And the business owners, they're kind of split. Most business owners want to do video, but I'd say that there's still a small handful that they want to they do everything by phone. But the phone and video, by the time they come in, that's not as often of an occurrence. Most of the time, people are just emailing in, and we can work with them that way. All right, so we finish up our 30-minute meeting, and what happens then? Well, we send them an email. It's another template. There's more Google Forms, so we have them do some intake forms. The responses are logged again. We love that. And we request some prior tax documents. This is to help us do the quotes. So here's the email template. We start off with saying like, hey, great talking, we're going to be a great fit. Then we have the notes from the call, which I put in bold. That is really good for reminding me and reminding the team and reminding the client what we talked about, and also shows that we're listening and gives them an opportunity to clarify any items. And then we have action items at the bottom. Those action items are fill out your Google Forms, upload your tax returns or other documents, and finally just let us know if you want to clarify any notes or add to them. Something that we didn't get to talk about, you want us to know about. What happens with this email is it becomes the beginning piece to our work papers. We'll print this into PDF, and we'll make sure that it's into our PDF work papers. We'll put all of our email communications at the top. Then we have source documents like the bank statements, interest statements, brokerage statements below that. So that way when we have all the information together that supports our Google Sheets, which is our Excel work papers, and those two items together are what will make up and ultimately is what's reported on the tax return. So I like this because it gets all of us on the same page. Client, me, team. We're all together. We're all seeing the same information. Let's look at that intake form from the action item. And in the intake form, this is kind of like the organizer that you would normally send, and it's more information gathering. So on the first page, we're going to be asking like a first name, last name, address. We'll ask for birthdays, occupation, the things we need to just report the 1040. And then later on, we ask questions around, and this is when it becomes a little bit more like an organizer, except a lot nicer to interact with. Do you have foreign accounts? Did you sell Bitcoin? Should we expect W-2s, 1099s? And it's the beginning stages for us of well, what are we going to get from this client to actually work on the return? Here is a response from a client that filled out the form. And this is actually a piece of automation here. So normally the responses from the Google form go into this Google Sheet where all the responses are from left to right, and each column is going to be a question, and then each response is a row. Well, that's not too friendly when you're trying to read and look for information. So what I did is I created a template of what I want, how I want all the responses to get laid out. So instead of having the questions in each column going left to right, I've set it up so the questions are going down the rows, and then the responses are next to it. I've added some conditional formatting in there, so if it's green, it's green, and it's green, it's filled out. So that way it's really easy with your eyes to see where should I focus. And then on the far right, I wrote something called standout, and what I was doing there is for some certain questions, just so you don't miss it, I have it pointed out. So for instance, like foreign accounts, do you have them? And if they do, it'll say foreign accounts on the standout, and then we can make sure that they filled out that section. That way we don't miss anything with F bars. So it really helps. It helps us increase our quality every time without having to think about it, because we just did this once. And we use an add-on called Form Publisher that accomplishes this this output for a new client. All right, so after they completed all those steps, I have their information. Now I can start saying, okay, well, let's look at the information I got. Let's look at what you answered on those forms. During this whole process, besides getting the information, besides hearing what's going on, this is also an opportunity then for the client to test us out and see, are they able to use our systems? The tools are simple. However, like, are they naturally inclined to, and can they figure it out basically? Can they upload to Google Drive? Are there any technical issues? If they can't get through these steps, it's a good flag for us to say, probably not a good client for us. If they're really slow in some areas, it helps give us a chance to go, maybe they're not going to be as responsive as we need. And it helps us filter out clients that may or may not be the right fit. Ultimately, that's huge for us, because it's an enormous time suck when you're chasing down clients for information, and you have to remember to keep following up every few weeks for documents that are readily available. So to remove that huge resource suck, you just stop it at the front. That's the idea. So we close with a quote. Maybe that's by phone, maybe that's by email. We would DocuSign an engagement letter, and we would send an invoice out as soon as that, either as soon as we send the DocuSign or as soon as they sign the engagement letter. Kind of depends on the time of year. If we're talking January, February, as soon as they DocuSign, we're sending the invoice. If it's about mid-year and we're maybe 6 months away from actually doing any work on the client, I may just ask for a retainer and invoice them a couple $1,000 to hold their spot. So let's look at the tools that we used during this sales process. Lots of Google. I love Google because they have an API that is very robust and can communicate with a lot of other tools. So for Google, we use Drive with Gmail, Calendar, Forms, Sheets, Google Voice for the call, Hangouts for video, and then scripts and add-ons. Specifically in this one, we had Form Publisher. Outside of Google, we use Calendly for scheduling, Asana for project management. We also CRM. Jamilius is a Gmail productivity tool. It has some really sophisticated ways to do templates and also send emails later, snooze emails. It's nice for if you're all on your own and maybe you don't have an assistant, or maybe you're processing your own emails. It's really good for the solo person or the person managing their own inbox. And a tool that we didn't highlight in here, but we use throughout this whole process is Slack, and that integrates really well with Google and Asana as well as many other apps. As we shift over to our last page, let's look at this this quote that I really like, and it says, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend 4 hours sharpening the axe." That's what it's like to automate. You're going to spend a lot of time up front to get it together, to get the process down, to drill it out. But as soon as you do it, you're not going to waste your time beating the dull axe on the tree. You're going to be fast, you're going to be sophisticated, and you're going to replicate really good process and procedures. That quote was attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but I doubt he said it. It seems like something that sounded good, and we go, must have been Abe. Anyways, if there's anything at all that interested you in this video or you'd like to chat, I'm always free and open to talk about it. My email is scott@yblue.com, and you can catch me on other videos about Asana and our tools online, YouTube, or through our blog at yblue.com. All right, thank you for listening, and thanks for your time. I hope this was really helpful for you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye now.